We have these deadlines. Hey, I got to be on this podcast at 9 o'clock every morning. It's a deadline. I got to have my slides ready. All right. Heat, these different temperature changes. Here in Atlanta, it can be 50 degrees one day, 80 degrees the next day. We overload ourselves with all of these things we have to do. These parents who have to take their kids to all this travel baseball and travel basketball, and then they have to make A's in school, and then they have to get into the right school. Then you have to go on a college tour and all of this stuff. We always are dealing with family relationships. Okay, sick parents, sick children, all of these things. Everybody's concerned about their finances now. We're dealing with death of our parents and death of loved ones. And then we're dealing with illnesses with kids and friends. So all of this, these are examples of the stressors that we're dealing with, and they don't go away. You have to be able to rise above all of this noise that's going on in your life. And you have to be able, and this is where meditation comes in, quiet your mind so that you can think about how you can change these situations or change how you respond to the situations. When you are in the middle of the fight or in the middle of the flight or the escape, you are not thinking about how to change your future. Okay, so because you're thinking about this all the time. All right, so what you don't need if you are a human, you don't need to run fast. You don't need to fight hard. You don't need quick energy. You need a steady flow of energy. You don't need to be lightweight. So you don't need to empty your bowels. You don't need to think quickly. In order to change things, you have to be contemplative. You need to think deeply, not quickly. And you don't necessarily need to block pain. Things you do need if you're a human. Even though you're dealing with your finances and you're with your sick kids and with your dying parents, you would still like for your reproductive system to work. But stress causes hormone disruption, all right? Even though you're dealing with this, you would still like to use energy efficiently. But that's what causes insulin resistance. We have all this glucose out, then your insulin, you become resistant to insulin because your body thinks you need all this glucose. All right, then that gets stored as fat, and then you have a high hemoglobin A1C, and so on and so forth. When you are under stress, it shuts down your thyroid, and I'm going to do a whole podcast or lecture on thyroid disease and thyroid dysfunction. But when you are stressed, thyroid function gets shut down. Okay, it decreases your metabolic activity because it's all going towards stress and trying to alleviate the stress. So you can have hypothyroidism or low thyroid function all due to stress. You don't need to worry about growing because you may not live past the next moment if you are a zebra. Okay, so you're not thinking about growth, so you're not trying to absorb anything in your gut. You just need it all to pass through because you got to keep running. You would like to have fluid balance. You want your kidneys to work well. And that can be a cause of hypertension. When you're increasing intravascular volume or you're increasing the amount of water or blood that's in your vessels, then that's going to create hypertension. It's too much fluid. That's why people are on diuretics, is to get rid of the extra fluid, and that decreases the pressure in your the high blood pressure. And then sleep. Even though you're worried about all these things, you still need to sleep. But that's what causes the insomnia. So why are you on these top 10 drugs? Well, how do you make cortisol, which is your stress hormone? You make it from cholesterol. So if you're stressed, you're going to increase your cholesterol, but they're going to give you Lipitor. But it's not a Lipitor deficiency. It's because you're stressed. Lisinopril is a high blood pressure medicine. I just told you why stress causes high blood pressure. I told you the Synthroid, that is a medicine for hypothyroidism, but stress can cause hypothyroidism. Gabapentin is for pain. Why do you have pain? Because you made this lactic acid in your muscles even though you didn't work out. So people have this pain. And it's also, they have it for restless leg. Prilosec is due to the indigestion caused by stress because it slowed down your stomach. The Norvasc is another blood pressure medicine. So you have a lot of different blood pressure medicines because most people have blood pressure problems. Glucophage or GLP-1, that's to help with insulin resistance. So everybody wants a GLP-1. It used to be metformin. That was the drug of choice back then. Now it's a GLP-1. The albuterol and Claritin is to help your immune system. Those are for allergies. And a lot of times you have allergies because your gut is disrupted and that disrupts your immune system. And then you have Zoloft, and that's an antidepressant, so you don't feel so bad about how bad you feel. All right. So all of these top 10 drugs can be associated with stress. Now, does that make sense, Rebel?
It's what makes sense to me is question. There are no stupid questions. Ask why. Yes. And when they can't answer you or they give you a stupid reason, look into it for yourself. Because
exactly.
It just doesn't mean that you have to listen to them. I'm not trying to be mean to the medical profession, but there's a reason for them and there's a not reason for them. And if the reason is I'm going to fit you in this and I'm just going to sell you what the pharmaceutical reps are pushing for me to sell you, then that's not how I want to be treated.
Right.
I want to know why.
Yeah. So here's the in a nutshell. Doctors are trained to diagnose and treat diseases. Okay. So if you have a disease, okay, let's pick any disease. You have, let's just say you have a heart attack. Okay. You have cardiovascular. So they do a cath and they see a blockage in one of your vessels. Okay. That's something they can diagnose. They can show it to you and they'll put a stent in or they'll give you bypass surgery or whatever. So they diagnose and they treat diseases. That's how I was taught. See, these aren't diseases. They're dysfunctions. And that's why
why? What caused it? What
exactly?
And how do you stop it?
That's what functional medicine is about. See, I just gave you a functional medicine lesson. I told you what is dysfunctioning in your body. It's not a disease, it's a dysfunction. Your gut is not functioning correctly. Okay, your brain is not functioning correct. What is causing that dysfunction? It is the stress, the imbalances that you have. All right. So if you have a functional problem, you need to do functional tests. Okay. So saliva testing gives me the function of your cortisol curve through the day. All right. I can do GI testing and I can look at the balance of the different bacteria in your gut. We can do a heart rate variability test and we can look at the imbalances in your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight system, and your rest and digest system. And so what happens is we have an imbalance. We have this heightened sympathetic nervous system of fight or flight, and we have this suppressed parasympathetic. Because see, if there's a choice, your body's always going to go towards survival, okay? It says we can rest and digest later, but we have to worry about survival right now. So then your constant state of survival, so you don't get any rest and you don't get any digest. And that's what people are complaining of. I can't sleep. I'm gaining weight and I don't know why. My bowels don't work. All of that list of symptoms is telling the doctor that they have a dysfunction. But if you don't understand functional medicine, you're not going to be able to help them. All right. And if you don't understand that body, mind, and spirit go together, you're going to have a hard time helping them also. So I know we're up on time, and I don't know if we had any questions. If we did, Rebel will send those to me and I'll answer them.